Chosen one. Listen carefully. Heaven has pressed pause on everything around you right now. This moment, yes. This very breath is not ordinary. The world keeps spinning. But for you, time halts. The noise fades. And in the silence, the voice of the eternal cuts through. You are not scrolling by chance. You are not hearing these words by mistake. The Spirit of the living God is reaching through the veil of your reality to tell you something vital. You are chosen. You have felt it. Haven't you? That restlessness in your chest. That quiet knowing that you are not like the rest. The loneliness. The pain. The misunderstanding, it all made you question why you've been set apart. But heaven has always known your name. Before your first tear fell, before your first failure, before you ever felt unseen, the mark of divine selection rested upon your soul. This is not coincidence. This is divine interruption. The Lord of Heaven has intercepted your timeline because destiny cannot wait another day. The things that once distracted you are being stripped away. Every delay that frustrated you was never meant to punish, it was meant to protect. You've been preserved for a holy purpose. And today, the call goes forth. Answer it. Listen closely. Because heaven's tone has changed. The gentle whispers that once guided you are now a commanding wind. God is not merely asking anymore, He is declaring. This is a divine summons, a sacred call to awaken. The world is darkening, and the light within you has been chosen to break that darkness. You are not too late. You are right on time. As the Apostle reminds us in his letter to the Corinthians, 1 Corinthians chapter 16, verse 13, "Be on your guard, stand firm in the faith, be courageous, be strong. There were nights you cried and whispered, 'God, where are you?' But heaven did not abandon you. It was watching, testing, and refining the vessel it would later fill with glory. Those tears were not wasted. They watered the soil for your anointing. Those heartbreaks you thought were endings were actually divine redirections. Every delay was mercy in disguise. You see, chosen one. The command is simple but heavy. Do not ignore this moment. Because when God interrupts your routine, He is aligning your future. This is not entertainment, this is encounter. Heaven is saying, move, rise, awaken. You are being prepared for something monumental, and your obedience will determine how fast it manifests. It's time to shift your posture. No more living halfway between surrender and resistance. No more pretending you're not called. The mantle over your life demands action. You can feel it even now, the trembling in your spirit, the goosebumps on your arms, the quickened heartbeat. That is not emotion, that is confirmation. The Spirit of God is bearing witness within you that this message is yours. God is saying, enough of small thinking. Enough of shrinking to make others comfortable. Enough of doubting the word I placed in you. You have survived too much to play small now. Heaven invested too much oil in you to let it be wasted in fear. The time for hesitation is over. The time for obedience is now. The divine command you can't ignore is this: step into your calling. Speak when He says speak. Move when He says move. Trust when you cannot see, because your yes carries generations inside it. When you obey, entire bloodlines are redeemed. When you rise, the chains of those connected to you break. Chosen one, look around you. Everything in your life has been rearranged to lead you here. Nothing was random. That betrayal, That delay, that unexpected silence, all of it brought you to this divine collision point where your destiny meets obedience. And once you say yes, everything will accelerate. Heaven responds to faith, not fear. You were never meant to blend in. You were meant to disrupt darkness. You carry a light that terrifies hell itself. That's why the warfare against you has been so fierce, because the enemy saw your potential before you did. But what was meant to destroy you has only confirmed who you are. You are God's evidence in the earth that light still wins. So hear this now. Not as suggestion, but as a divine decree. You have been chosen for this exact moment in history. And this message, it is your confirmation that heaven has not forgotten your name. The command stands: rise, shine, obey. If this resonates in your spirit, do not stay silent. Type the number 777 inches, the comments, as a prophetic act of agreement. It is your declaration that you hear heaven's voice and you will not ignore the call. And before you go, beloved, if this message stirred something deep inside you, like, share, and subscribe so this word can reach every other chosen one who needs to awaken. The world is waiting for the rise of those who carry heaven's fire. You are one of them. You are called. You are marked. You are chosen. You were never random. Chosen one. Before your name was ever whispered on earth, it was spoken in heaven. Every breath you've taken has been part of a divine script, written by a hand that never errs. The battles you faced, the heartbreak, the loneliness, the constant sense of being different were not signs of rejection, but of marking. Heaven does not mark those it does not intend to use. From your earliest years, something in you has known that you didn't fit the mold. You've tried to blend in, to quiet the voice inside that said, you are meant for more. Yet every time you tried to be ordinary, life reminded you that you could not be. The divine fingerprint upon your soul refused to fade. The world called it struggle, but heaven called it preparation. Do you remember the moments that nearly broke you, the betrayals that cut so deep you thought you'd never recover, the seasons when everyone else moved forward, and you stood still? Those were not punishments, they were consecrations. The delay was a holy classroom where God Himself was teaching you endurance. You were never being punished, you were being refined. As was written long ago in the sacred record, Jeremiah chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you, I knew you. Before birth I set you apart and appointed you. Every chosen one carries the imprint of divine contradiction. You feel both small and infinite, unworthy yet called, weary yet unstoppable. That tension is holy. It means heaven is still shaping you. The very pain that once made you question God is now the fire that proves He is with you. For those He marks, He molds. For those He calls, He carves. You were marked not for comfort but for kingdom. The crown you carry cannot sit on a head untested by fire. That is why you faced storms others never had to endure. The anointing you carry provoked opposition because darkness recognized what you could not yet see. Hell saw your future and tried to bury you in the past. But what hell calls a burial, heaven calls a planting. Think about it. If your journey had been easy, your roots would have been shallow. You would not have learned discernment. You would not have known compassion. You would not have recognized God's voice in the storm. Every trial stretched your spirit and sharpened your hearing. You have grown stronger than you realize. You have learned to walk with God in the shadows, and that is a sacred privilege. The truth is, chosen one, you have never been hidden from purpose, you have been hidden for it. God was not ignoring you, He was preserving you. He covered you in obscurity because premature exposure would have crushed you. The hidden years were heaven's shelter, protecting the gift until the appointed time. And now, you stand at the edge of that time. The weight you have carried is not in vain. Every tear has watered the ground of your calling. Every rejection has refined your discernment. Every season of silence has taught you the language of heaven. The patterns of pain you endured were divine fingerprints guiding your story toward fulfillment. You have always been different because your destiny demanded it. The world around you often mocked your sensitivity, your depth, your compassion, but those traits were not flaws. They were spiritual weapons in disguise. The heart that breaks easily is also the heart that hears clearly. The one who feels deeply also sees deeply. And that sight, that discernment, is what the world will need in the days to come. So do not despise your difference. Do not curse your uniqueness. You were designed to carry what others could not. You were marked by heaven's seal, and that mark cannot be erased by failure or fear. Even your mistakes are woven into the plan. God is not rewriting your story. He is revealing what was written all along. The same hand that shaped the stars shaped your purpose. The same voice that thundered light into darkness whispered destiny into your soul. You were chosen before time began, and that choosing has never been revoked. There will come a moment when everything suddenly makes sense: the closed doors, the unanswered prayers, the people who walked away. You will see that it all conspired to bring you to the point where heaven could trust you with more. When that moment comes, you will not be bitter, you will be grateful, because the pain was not punishment, it was proof that you were worth refining. So stand tall, chosen one. Heaven's mark is still glowing on your life. You are not forgotten. You are not behind. You are not disqualified. You are simply being positioned. And when the command comes again, when heaven whispers, now you will be ready. Because the mark of divine selection has already prepared you for the weight of divine purpose. The weight of this calling has not been light. Chosen one, you have carried it through storms, through nights of silence, through moments when you wanted to quit but could not. You tried to run, yet something always pulled you back, a tug in your spirit, a whisper that said, you were made for more. That weight you feel is not a burden, it is a mantle. Every chosen one wrestles with the same tension, the desire to live freely like others, and the holy heaviness of knowing you cannot. You cannot move the way they move. You cannot live the way they live. What others call freedom, you recognize as distraction. What others call delay, you understand as divine timing. That awareness is costly, but it is sacred. Heaven has trusted you with pressure because pressure proves purity. The more the oil within you is needed, the more intense the crushing becomes. The anointing you carry was not bought cheaply. It came from fire, loss, tears, and surrender. That is why you sense things others ignore. It is why God speaks to you in ways you cannot explain. The mantle of purpose presses on your shoulders because it was tailor-made for your soul. And even now, the Spirit whispers, don't despise it. For in the heaviness of the call lies the proof that you are chosen. As the prophet wrote in the scroll of Habakkuk, Habakkuk chapter 2, verse 3, For the revelation awaits an appointed time. It speaks of the end and will not prove false. Though it linger, wait for it. It will certainly come and will not delay. You've waited long, haven't you? You've looked around and wondered why others seem to run ahead while you remained still. You questioned whether you heard God correctly, whether your prayers were lost in translation between heaven and earth. But that verse is your answer. The vision is not denied. It is simply delayed for divine reason. The weight of your calling has forged humility within you. It has taught you to depend not on applause, but on presence. You've learned that the secret place is your strength, and that intimacy with God is more powerful than influence among men. You've come to understand that the hidden life is the holy life, the one that moves heaven even when earth doesn't notice. Still, there are moments when the mantle feels too heavy, when loneliness sits beside you and whispers that obedience costs too much, when you question whether you can keep going. In those moments, remember, God does not call the comfortable. He calls the courageous. And courage is not the absence of fear, it is obedience in spite of it. Every chosen one must face a breaking before they walk in breakthrough. The breaking strips away pride, dependence, and control. It leaves nothing but surrender. That is what the weight has been doing. It has been teaching you how to surrender, how to trust, how to stand even when you do not understand. Do you know what happens when you stop fighting the weight and start embracing it? Transformation. You begin to see purpose in your pain. You begin to feel heaven's rhythm within your heartbeat. You begin to realize that this mantle isn't crushing you, it's shaping you. It's turning you from ordinary vessel into divine instrument. Your trials have been prophetic training. Every rejection was a redirection. Every loss was a lesson. Every tear was a seed. And now, heaven is saying, hold on. The weight you carry today will become the glory you carry tomorrow. The heaviness of your assignment is a sign that the release is near. So breathe, chosen one. Rest in the knowledge that you are not behind, you are in process. The same God who called you will carry you. He does not start what he will not finish. You are in the furnace of formation. And when you emerge, you will not even smell like the fire you walked through. When this message finds you, take a moment. Feel that stirring in your spirit. That's heaven confirming what you've known all along. You were never forgotten. You were being forged. The mantle fits now because the old version of you could not carry it. And now, I ask you to declare it not for me, but for your own soul. Type, "I'm still here," in the comments. Let it be your proclamation that the weight has not crushed you, that the process has not broken you beyond repair. Say it as a declaration of faith, as a roar from your spirit, that even though life has pressed hard, you are still standing. When you write those words, heaven takes note. Angels record your agreement. The kingdom sees your resilience, and the very weight that once felt unbearable becomes the sign that you are ready for what comes next. Chosen one. The mantle is not a curse, it is your crown in disguise. Wear it with faith. Carry it with strength. For soon, the same weight that bowed your knees will lift your hands in victory. The pain you've endured has always had purpose. Chosen one. Every unanswered prayer, every betrayal, every sleepless night was not a random event, but a piece of a divine pattern. You may not have understood it while walking through it, but heaven never wasted a single moment of your suffering. The hidden reason behind your pain is now coming into light. It was never punishment. It was preparation. There are assignments in this world too sacred to be given to the unbroken. Heaven chooses those who have been crushed, because only those who have bled can carry compassion without pride. God did not allow the storm to destroy you. He allowed it to shape you into a vessel that could hold His glory. The wounds you carry are not evidence of defeat. They are proof of divine trust. You see, the deeper the pain, the greater the calling. Those who are meant to heal must first know what it means to hurt. You were being trained in silence for a mission too holy to reveal prematurely. Every season of emptiness was heaven's classroom, teaching you the language of empathy, the discipline of faith, and the strength of surrender. You were never meant to remain broken. You were meant to be refined into a healer. The assignment God has for you cannot be fulfilled without the wisdom that suffering produces. The world around you may have judged you for what they saw on the surface, but heaven was applauding what was being built beneath it. As Jesus Himself declared in the Gospel of Matthew chapter 5, verse 10, "Blessed are those who are persecuted because of righteousness, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven." These are not just comforting words, they are truth carved into eternity. You have been blessed not despite the persecution, but because of it. The pain you endured for choosing righteousness, for staying pure, for walking away from compromise, those choices have stored up heavenly reward. What cost you comfort on earth has purchased authority in heaven. There are realms of glory only accessible through the doorway of pain. The fire you survived was not meant to consume you, but to reveal the gold within. When the world saw ashes, heaven saw refinement. When you were losing everything, heaven was removing everything that did not align with your purpose. You thought it was destruction, but it was deliverance. It is not a coincidence that those with the deepest pain often carry the strongest light. The same soul that has cried the most has also learned how to comfort others. You now understand what many cannot. You know how to speak to the broken, how to recognize pain behind a smile, how to offer hope without judgment. That is what makes you powerful. Heaven's secret assignment is simple: to send healing into the world through those who have survived it. Do you see it now? The reason you couldn't quit, even when you wanted to. The reason your heart kept loving, even after being wounded. It was because heaven had already written your role into its story. You were chosen not to escape pain, but to redeem it, to turn what hurt you into healing for others. There is a sacred beauty that comes only after suffering. It is the glow of someone who has wrestled with God and come out transformed. You carry that glow now, even if you don't see it yet. The Spirit within you has turned your scars into symbols of grace. Every mark on your soul tells a story of survival, of faith, of relentless love. And now, the hidden assignment is beginning to unfold. You are being sent as a light into places still bound by darkness. The compassion you gained through pain will open doors that pride could never unlock. The love that once made you vulnerable will now make you unstoppable. You have walked through the valley so that others can find the path out. Chosen one, heaven's eyes are upon you. The pain was never wasted. The nights of tears, the moments of silence, the questions with no answers, all of them have been woven into your destiny. The God who called you has not forgotten you. He has been waiting for this very moment when your scars would turn into weapons of light. You have been refined by divine fire and trusted with divine secrets. The world may still see your wounds, but heaven sees your readiness. You are no longer just a survivor, you are a messenger, carrying a sacred mission born from brokenness. Walk forward now. not with fear, but with reverence. You are heaven's proof that nothing is wasted, that pain can birth purpose, and that those who are broken for God will always be rebuilt by His hands. The hidden assignment has been revealed. You are called to heal what once hurt you. You can feel it, can't you? Chosen one, the air around you has shifted. The invisible world has begun to stir. Every delay, every trial, every sleepless night was leading here to the battle in the unseen realm. You are not fighting against people, but against forces that have long tried to keep you silent, distracted, or afraid. The fact that you're still standing means heaven has invested divine strength within you. The war around you is not proof that you are cursed. It is proof that you are carrying something precious. Darkness only attacks what threatens it. The more intense the warfare becomes, the clearer it is that you are close to a breakthrough. And though your eyes cannot see it, armies of angels surround you even now. You are not fighting alone. This is not just another struggle. This is a divine confrontation. Heaven and hell both recognize the weight of your obedience. When you pray, things move. When you speak, the atmosphere changes. When you worship, strongholds tremble. That is why the enemy works so hard to distract you, to make you tired, to convince you that your prayers don't matter. But every whisper from your lips shakes darkness. You were born to war in the Spirit. The Word of God declares in the book of Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, "For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms." That verse is not metaphor, it is the manual of your life. The real battle is invisible, but its effects are seen everywhere in your emotions, in your family, in the waves of fatigue that come out of nowhere, in the strange resistance that meets you right when you start to rise. These are not coincidences. They are spiritual counterattacks meant to weary you before your moment of victory. The unseen war may feel heavy, but it is also holy. It means you are trusted to carry light into darkness. Every time you choose forgiveness over bitterness, you win a battle. Every time you speak peace into chaos, heaven advances. Every time you resist temptation and choose truth, you pierce through spiritual darkness. You have been chosen to stand in places where others fell, and there is more happening around you than you realize. Your obedience is changing atmospheres at home, at work, even among people you've never met. Light travels farther than you think. A single act of faith releases ripples into eternity. You may not see it yet, but your steadfastness is rewriting generational stories. The warfare you've been facing lately is not punishment, it's promotion. You are being trained in authority. Heaven is teaching your spirit to command peace when storms rage, to declare healing where pain resides, to call life into dry places. This is why your prayers have felt heavier lately, because they are shaping reality. Do not fear the battle. The presence of resistance means the promise is near. The moment you decide to stand firm, heaven begins to shift in your favor. Angels are dispatched, paths open, the impossible bends to the will of God. You only need to remain steadfast. And as you continue to walk this journey, remember, you are not meant to fight alone. The body of the chosen must rise together. Every share of light multiplies it. Every word of encouragement spreads the flame. When you pass on messages of faith, you are not promoting a name, You are releasing a weapon of truth into a world suffocating in confusion. So, beloved, if this word resonates with your spirit, if you can feel heaven speaking through it, take a moment, like this message, not for recognition, but as a declaration that you align with what heaven is saying. Share it, not as routine, but as an act of spiritual warfare, letting others who are weary know they are not alone. And if your heart is stirred, subscribe not to follow a voice, but to stay connected to this flow of divine strength that heaven keeps pouring through these words. Every time you engage, you are sowing faith into the digital wilderness. You are allowing the voice of truth to drown out the noise of fear. That simple act, one click, one share, one moment of obedience may be the seed that awakens another chosen one across the world. You are part of a divine army now. Your voice, your prayers, your light, they all matter more than you know. The unseen war is real, but victory has already been written. You only need to stand, armored in faith, knowing that the same power that raised Christ from the dead is at work in you. So rise, warrior of light. The war in the invisible realm rages, but you are not a victim, you are a vessel of victory. Let your spirit stay alert, your hands steady, and your heart ablaze. Heaven has called your name, and the darkness cannot silence it. The testing has come. Chosen one. You can feel the pressure tightening, can't you? The decisions that once seemed simple now weigh like eternity itself. Heaven is watching not to condemn, but to confirm. This is the moment of divine testing, the kind that separates the called from the chosen, the believers from the obedient. Every chosen one faces a crossroads like this. It is the moment when heaven whispers, "Will you still trust me when you cannot trace me?" It's easy to believe when everything flows smoothly, but true faith is proven in silence, in uncertainty, in waiting rooms where no explanation comes. That is where God tests the heart, not to break it, but to reveal its foundation. You have prayed for open doors, but sometimes God's test comes as a closed one. You have asked for clarity, but the test often looks like confusion. You have sought confirmation, yet the test demands movement without it. Divine testing is rarely comfortable because it is meant to expose what is real. Heaven is not looking for perfect words, but for pure surrender. The Spirit spoke through the prophet Jeremiah. Jeremiah chapter 17, verse 10. I, the Lord, search the heart and examine the mind, to reward each person according to their conduct, according to what their deeds deserve. These words are the lens through which your current season must be seen. God is not interested in how loudly you declare your faith. He is looking at how deeply you live it. Testing reveals whether your obedience is driven by love or by convenience. When everything is stripped away, when no one applauds, when you stand alone, what remains is your true worship. Divine testing does not come to destroy you, it comes to graduate you. The pressure you feel is heaven's way of preparing you for promotion. The shaking you sense is not punishment, it is refinement. You are being shaped into someone who can carry what you have been praying for. And until your character can hold your calling, God, in mercy, delays your next step. Do not mistake silence for absence. God is often the quietest when He is the closest. The test you are facing right now is not about whether He loves you, it's about whether you trust Him. Every delay, every uncertainty, every moment of waiting is an invitation to say, even here, I believe. There are two kinds of tests that visit the chosen ones: tests of faith and tests of obedience. Faith tests ask, will you still believe when you see nothing? Obedience tests ask, will you still move when you feel nothing? Some are called to wait, others are called to walk. The key is discernment, knowing which season you are in. Heaven is calling you to listen, not just to act. Sometimes the test is not about doing something, it's about refusing something. It's about staying silent when your flesh wants to speak, forgiving when bitterness feels justified, staying pure when temptation knocks. These are the quiet victories that shift the spirit realm. The unseen obedience that no one applauds is the one heaven crowns the loudest. If the battle feels heavier right now, it is because your test carries generational weight. Your obedience will break patterns your family could not. Your surrender will unlock blessings that were trapped for years. That is why it feels so intense, because it's not just about you. Heaven is trusting you to pass a test that others failed, to carry light into places where compromise once ruled. And in this very moment, heaven is watching. The angels lean in. The test is not endless, it's sacred. When God tests you, He is really introducing you to the stronger version of yourself. The very test you dread is the threshold to your next level. Chosen one, listen closely. Do not give up in the testing. The enemy wants you to interpret discomfort as distance. But the truth is, the opposite testing means God is near. You are in the refining fire. Yes, but that same fire is burning away everything that can't go with you into your next season. And now, heaven extends a prophetic invitation to you. If this word is piercing your heart, if you know you are being tested right now, act in faith. Declare your agreement with heaven by typing the number 555 inches the comments. This is not superstition, it is a prophetic act. 5 is the number of grace, and 555 symbolizes multiplied grace for testing seasons. When you type it, you are saying, I receive divine grace to endure, to trust, and to obey. It is not about the number itself, it's about the obedience behind it. It is about acknowledging, Lord, I may not understand this test, but I will not fail it. I choose faith over fear. Heaven takes notice of small acts of agreement like this. It's a symbol of surrender, a digital altar built between your heart and God's purpose. So breathe. Chosen one, the test will not last forever, but when it ends, you will be stronger, purer, and more anointed than before. What feels like pressure today will soon become power. Heaven is not silent, it is watching you with pride. You are passing the test, one act of trust at a time. There is a shadow that follows every calling. Chosen one, the shadow of disobedience. It doesn't come loudly or suddenly. It creeps in quietly, disguised as hesitation, delay, or compromise. It whispers, you still have time. You can obey later. But heaven sees what delay really is, disguised rebellion. Every moment you hesitate, darkness advances a little further. You felt it before, the tug of war between what your spirit knows and what your flesh desires. You've heard God's whisper, but fear made you pause. You felt the prompting to move, to speak, to release. But logic built walls around faith. That hesitation feels harmless. Yet, in the realm of the Spirit, it's costly. Heaven waits for your yes because your obedience activates divine motion. as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 1. If you fully obey the Lord your God and carefully follow all his commands I give you today, the Lord your God will set you high above all the nations on earth. This is not just a promise, it's a principle. Obedience always precedes elevation. You cannot rise while resisting. Every level of glory requires a deeper yes. You cannot carry new oil in old vessels of hesitation. God's blessings are not withheld by punishment, they are delayed by disobedience. There are times when mercy stands still, waiting for you to respond. Heaven is patient, but not passive. The longer you delay, the more your heart begins to harden. What begins as hesitation can soon become resistance, and what begins as resistance can end in rebellion. The Spirit warns you, not because you are far gone, but because you are loved. You have come too far to look back now. The shadow of disobedience has stalked many chosen ones before you. It whispered to Jonah when he fled from his calling, to Saul when he spared what should have been destroyed, to Peter when fear silenced his loyalty. Each of them discovered the same truth: partial obedience is still disobedience. There are seasons when the cost of obedience feels unbearable, when the instruction makes no sense, when the path seems painful, when surrender feels like loss. But heaven never asks for something without reason. Every act of obedience is a seed. You may not see the harvest immediately, but it will come in ways you never imagined. Disobedience, however, carries its own harvest. It brings delay, confusion, and unnecessary suffering. God's love does not leave you, but his movement pauses. You begin to walk in circles, revisiting the same lessons, repeating the same pain, until your heart finally bows in surrender. Heaven is not trying to punish you, it is trying to prepare you. You may be thinking, but I've failed before, so what? Grace still calls your name. The mercy of God is not exhausted by your hesitation. What he requires now is not perfection, it's repentance. He is not counting your missteps, he is counting your willingness to return. One fresh yes can realign years of wandering. Disobedience blinds, but repentance restores sight. The moment you say, Lord, I will do what you say, the darkness begins to retreat. The enemy loses his grip, the instant obedience enters the room. Because obedience invites the presence of God, and where his presence dwells, confusion cannot remain. The greatest tragedy is not failing to hear God, it's hearing him and doing nothing. Heaven's warnings are mercy in disguise. When conviction stirs your spirit, it's not to shame you, it's to save you from destruction. There are consequences you will never see, because grace intervened before rebellion took root. But there comes a time when the window begins to close. That is why the Spirit says, do not harden your heart. You are standing on sacred ground, and heaven is watching to see your response. Every moment you delay, purpose waits. The shadow of disobedience will linger until light exposes it, and that light is your obedience. So, chosen one, let this truth sink deep into your heart. Obedience is not loss, it is alignment. The yes you give today could unlock what you've been praying for years. Heaven has no interest in empty words, it desires willing hearts. The sooner you move, the faster grace flows. You are not being punished, you are being pursued. The shadow that followed you ends the moment you turn around and walk back toward the light. Heaven does not demand perfection, only surrender. And in that surrender, every chain of rebellion breaks. The time for hesitation has passed. You know what God has told you to do. Now, do it. Step forward before the opportunity closes. Your obedience will not just save your destiny, it will redeem every delay that tried to hold you back. When heaven grows silent, chosen one, the mind begins to wander. Questions rise like storms inside you. Why can't I hear him? Did I do something wrong? Has God forgotten me? You've known seasons of fire and clarity. But this silence feels different. It's not rejection, it's refinement. It's the holy pause where faith is tested not by what you hear, but by what you remember. Heaven's silence is never absence. It is the sound of God trusting you with stillness. The teacher always goes quiet during the test, not because he has left the classroom, but because he's watching to see what you've learned. Every chosen soul must walk through this silence before they can carry authority. There was a time when you could feel him everywhere, signs, confirmations, words that aligned perfectly. Now, it's quiet. Prayers seem to echo back unanswered. The heavens feel shut. But beneath that quiet is divine activity. While you perceive stillness, heaven is building foundations deeper than your sight can reach. We are reminded through the writings of David in the Psalms. Psalms chapter 13, verse 1, How long, Lord, will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? Even David, the man after God's own heart, knew this silence. His psalms swing between praise and desperation, between confidence and confusion. Yet, through it all, his faith remained. That is the purpose of the silence, to purify trust until it no longer depends on signs, feelings, or reassurance. When your heart can stand firm without confirmation, you have matured in faith. The silence of heaven is an invitation to deeper listening. God stops speaking loudly so you can learn to hear softly. He trains your spirit to recognize his presence in stillness, in simplicity, in the spaces where emotion cannot reach. The silence is sacred. It is where your soul is rewired to move, not by impulse, but by intimacy. Do not fear this quiet place. It is the furnace of transformation. The old version of you needed constant signs. The new version will walk by conviction. The silence strips away dependency on noise and teaches your spirit to trust the unseen. It is the spiritual equivalent of walking blindfolded while knowing the Father still holds your hand. There are moments when heaven's quiet feels cruel, but in truth, it is tender. God speaks most powerfully, not with thunder, but with restraint. If he kept answering every question instantly, you would never learn endurance. If he kept removing every obstacle, you would never grow in strength. Silence is not punishment, it's partnership. Heaven steps back to let you exercise the authority already placed within you. Consider this when you planted a seed in the ground. You do not dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You trust the unseen process. The silence of heaven is that soil. Your prayers have been planted, and though nothing appears above ground yet, life is forming beneath. The roots are spreading. The foundation is deepening. Soon, what you can't see will break forth in fruit. Many of the greats walked through divine silence. Joseph waited in prisons of obscurity. Esther fasted through nights of uncertainty. Elijah sat beneath the juniper tree, begging for death. until the whisper of God called him forward again. The silence is not a void, it's a womb. Something is being born in you that noise could never produce. You are not being ignored, you are being trusted. God knows you've reached a level where constant reassurance is no longer required. He trusts that you will still worship without goosebumps, still pray without instant answers, still believe even when the heavens seem closed. That is the mark of maturity. That is what sets you apart from those who follow feelings instead of faith. There will come a morning when the silence breaks, the stillness will lift, and the voice of God will thunder again. But when it does, you will not be the same. You will hear differently. You will move differently. You will speak with authority born from stillness. Until then, hold fast to what you already know. God has not left you. He is simply working in ways your senses cannot perceive. The silence is not empty, it is holy. Trust that your prayers have reached his throne, even if your ears hear nothing in return. Heaven's silence is not a wall, it's a window. Though it looks opaque now, light will soon pour through it. And when it does, you will realize that even in the quiet, you were never alone. Something has begun to shift within you. Chosen one, the silence that once felt suffocating is now turning into fuel. The fire inside you that seemed to fade has started to flicker again. You're beginning to remember who you are and whose you are. This is the awakening of fire, the rebirth of divine purpose in a soul that has refused to die. You've walked through darkness, but not to stay there. You were led through it so that when light returned, you would recognize its value. The very places that broke you are now the altars where your strength was forged. What the enemy tried to bury, God is resurrecting. What was crushed in you is now glowing with holy flame. This fire is not emotional hype, it is spiritual ignition. It is the stirring of destiny after dormancy. It's the sound of bones rattling back to life. The breath of God filling what was once numb. You are not being reintroduced to God. You are being reintroduced to the version of yourself that heaven designed before pain distorted your reflection, as was proclaimed through the prophet Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 60, verse 1. Arise, shine, for your light has come, and the glory of the Lord rises upon you. This is your call to stand, to shake off the ashes, to remember that you carry divine light. The fire awakening in you is not new, it's ancient. It's the same fire that called Moses from the bush, the same fire that fell on Elijah's altar, the same spirit that descended at Pentecost. That fire has chosen your heart as its dwelling place. But fire always comes with responsibility. It purifies, it empowers, but it also exposes. You cannot hold this flame and remain who you were. It will burn away every trace of compromise. It will demand honesty, integrity, and surrender. The awakening of fire is not comfortable, it is costly. It will ask for your obedience, your time, and your full devotion. Yet in return, it will give you power that hell cannot imitate. This is the season when your prayers will carry new authority. The same words you once whispered in weakness will now shake the atmosphere. Heaven has turned the volume up on your spirit. You may not realize it, but your presence is changing rooms. When you walk in, light enters. When you speak, clarity follows. You are becoming the evidence that God still breathes through human vessels. But be mindful, the enemy always attacks what he fears. The moment the fire awakens, distractions will multiply. Old habits will try to creep back. People from your past will reappear to pull you backward. Do not entertain them. Guard your flame. Protect the oil that cost you your tears. What you are carrying now is not for conversation, it's for consecration. And understand this, the awakening is not only for you, it's through you. The fire that burns in you is meant to ignite others. You are called to awaken those still sleeping, to speak to dry bones and watch them rise. Your pain was not wasted, it has become your authority. You can now walk into rooms of despair and carry deliverance simply by existing there. The time for dimming your light to fit in is over. Heaven did not rekindle your flame for you to hide it under fear or doubt. The same world that mocked you will soon need your voice. Every scar you've carried will become a torch that lights someone else's path. Chosen one. This is not just a personal revival, it is a divine assignment. Heaven has entrusted you with fire that must spread. Your awakening is contagious. Your passion will pull others out of their graves. But for that to happen, you must keep the flame alive through prayer, fasting, and focus. Right now, as you read this, something in your spirit is already stirring. You can feel it, a quiet heat building inside, a recognition that this is your moment. Heaven is reactivating your purpose, reigniting your courage, reawakening your calling. You are standing in the middle of a spiritual ignition. If this truth resonates in your heart, take a moment and declare it aloud. Type, "I'm on fire" in the comments. Say it not for attention, but as a covenant. When you write those words, you are agreeing with heaven that your flame will not go out again. You're saying, "I will guard the fire. I will live ablaze. I will walk as light." That simple act is prophetic. It is your way of saying yes to what heaven has rekindled. It's a public declaration that you will not return to the ashes. The fire has awakened, and now the world will see what God can do through a soul that burns for Him without fear. Stand tall, flame bearer. The night is breaking, and your fire is rising. Rise, Royal One. The time for hiding is over. Heaven has watched you endure the crushing, the silence, the fire, and now the crown is being placed upon your spirit. You have walked through refining, and what remains is royal. You may not see it yet, but you are standing in the authority of divine identity. You are no longer just surviving, you are reigning. You have been told your whole life that humility means shrinking, but humility was never about denying who you are, it's about recognizing who He is within you. To walk in humility is to walk in power rightly placed. You are not boasting in yourself, you are standing in what heaven already declared about you. As was written by the Apostle Peter, 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 9, "You are a chosen people, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, God's possession called into His light." That verse is not a poetic comfort, it is your divine decree. You have been called out of darkness, not just to escape it, but to govern light. The title Royal Priesthood means you carry both authority and intimacy, the authority of a king and the intimacy of a priest. You are not simply a believer. You are an ambassador of heaven's kingdom. The crown placed on your life is not made of gold, it's woven from obedience, perseverance, and faith. It shines through your resilience, through every yes you gave when you could have turned away. Every tear you shed has become a jewel upon it. Every act of surrender has formed its weight. This is not a crown of vanity, it's a crown of victory. Heaven now whispers, walk like royalty, not in arrogance, but in awareness. Walk knowing that every step you take carries heaven's weight. When you speak, angels listen. When you pray, heaven moves. When you forgive, strongholds break. You are not ordinary. You are chosen to rule in the unseen before you ever reign in the seen. But royalty does not mean ease. A crown always comes with a cross. To wear authority means to bear responsibility. You are now called to live above offense, to respond with wisdom, to lead by example. You cannot react like the world anymore. You must govern like heaven. Where others curse, you bless. Where others fear, you declare faith. Where others retreat, you advance. You've earned this moment not through perfection, but through perseverance. You stayed faithful when you had every reason to give up. You held on to hope when hope mocked you. You believed when believing cost you everything. That endurance is what heaven crowns. You are being rewarded not for never falling, but for always rising. Now your light must shine differently. You no longer walk as a wounded one, you walk as one who carries healing. The pain that once broke you has now become your testimony. People will look at you and see reflection, not regret. You will not have to announce who you are. Your peace will speak louder than words. And as you step into this new season of authority, understand that your voice carries weight. The same Spirit that resurrected Christ dwells in you. And that means your words build or break. Speak life. Speak faith. Speak as a king who knows his kingdom is not of this world. Beloved, this moment is sacred. You are not being elevated for fame, but for function. The world is desperate for light, and heaven has chosen you as a vessel to release it. Let the crown remind you of purpose, not pride. Royalty is not about recognition, it's about representation. You represent the King of Kings. If these words stir your spirit, take a moment. Pause and reflect on how far you've come, the battles you've survived, the growth that took root in hidden places. Then, with sincerity, like this message, not as routine but as a sign of gratitude for what God has done. Share it so that another hidden royal might remember their crown. And subscribe, not for content, but for connection, to stay aligned with this flow of faith, so the fire within you keeps burning bright. When you engage, you're not supporting a voice, you're joining a movement. Each interaction spreads light further, allowing heaven's words to reach those still lost in the dark. You never know, your simple act might awaken another royal soul somewhere across the world. So rise, Royal One. The crown fits now because you've been molded for it. Carry it with grace. Rule with compassion. Walk with divine confidence, knowing that the same God who placed the crown upon your life will sustain you in the weight of it. You are royal. You are chosen. You are light in human form. The sound of breaking surrounds you. Chosen one. You can sense it, not destruction, but release. The spiritual weight that clung to your family line for generations is cracking under the authority you now walk in. The chains that once defined your identity are falling apart, one link at a time. What held your ancestors captive will not hold you. You are the turning point in your bloodline. Every generational curse ends with a chosen one who decides that the cycle stops here. The addiction, the fear, the poverty, The silence, whatever once reigned over your family, is trembling now. You are standing in the place where heaven and history collide. And because of your obedience, freedom is being written into your lineage. It was never only about you. From the very beginning, heaven saw your family through you. Your deliverance is their deliverance. The same chains that tried to bind your parents and grandparents have met their end in your surrender. God did not allow you to suffer without reason. He was giving you authority to destroy what others could not. The voice of God thundered in the book of Exodus. Exodus chapter 14, verse 13. Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. The Egyptians you see today, you will never see again. That was not just a message to a fleeing nation, it is heaven's declaration over your life. The enemies that pursued you for years, the inner wars that haunted your peace, the strongholds that mocked your prayers, you will see them no more. The breaking of chains is not coming, it has already begun. This breaking is happening in layers. Some chains were external relationships that drained your spirit, habits that clouded your mind, environments that kept you small. Those have already started to fall away. Others are internal, the self-doubt, the shame, the fear of being too much or not enough. Those are the subtler chains. But the Spirit of God is reaching into the deepest parts of you to shatter them completely. Freedom doesn't always arrive in a shout. Sometimes it arrives in quiet clarity. In that moment when you finally realize, I'm not bound anymore. It's when you stop apologizing for healing. When you stop returning to old wounds to prove your worth. When you start seeing yourself through heaven's eyes instead of human labels. That moment, silent, steady, sacred, is the true sound of deliverance. Do you see it now? You were never meant to simply escape. You were meant to liberate. Your life will become a living testimony that freedom is possible. The same hands that once trembled in weakness will now lift others out of darkness. God is turning your pain into a blueprint for redemption. You are not just breaking chains, you are teaching others how to live without them. But freedom carries weight. It demands vigilance. Every time a chain breaks, the enemy attempts to forge a new one. He whispers lies, sends distractions, revives memories of past failure. Yet he cannot touch what heaven has sealed. The authority you now carry is permanent. You have crossed a spiritual line that cannot be redrawn. Still, you must guard your freedom. Do not return to the places God delivered you from. Do not entertain voices that call you back to bondage disguised as belonging. Some doors must remain closed, not because of fear, but because of wisdom. The enemy knows he cannot overpower you, so he tries to lure you back with comfort. Remember, chains often return disguised as familiarity. Chosen one, your freedom is holy. It's not chaos, it's consecration. To be free in Christ is not to do whatever you please, it is to finally have the strength to do what is right. Real freedom is discipline wrapped in peace. It is waking up each day, knowing that the power that once enslaved you no longer defines your future. This is your Exodus moment. You are stepping out of the wilderness into promise. The same waters that once terrified you will now part before your faith. You are walking on ground your family never reached, breaking ceilings that once felt permanent. And as you move forward, those watching you, friends, family, even those who doubted, will see what freedom looks like. The deliverance that began in your heart will ripple outward. You will speak words that break invisible chains in others. Your story will heal shame you didn't even know people carried. When they hear how far you've come, they will believe that God can do the same for them. That's the power of a redeemed life. It multiplies freedom. So take a deep breath. Chosen one, you are no longer bound. The prisons of the past no longer have keys to your spirit. Every scar now shines as proof of grace. Every wound now carries wisdom. The God who broke your chains has also built you a future. Walk forward with the quiet confidence of one who knows the truth. You are free, and nothing can chain you again. The story of captivity ends with you, but the story of freedom begins through you. Heaven is speaking one word over your life right now: move. The command to move is not always about geography, it's about obedience. There are seasons when staying still becomes disobedience because heaven has already shifted. You can feel it. Can't you? The ground beneath your spirit is trembling. The atmosphere around you has changed. What once fit no longer feels right. That is not frustration, it is divine prompting. God is saying, now, you've lingered in the waiting place long enough. The lessons have been learned. The pruning has been completed. And the silence has served its purpose. What was once a season of rest is now turning into a season of release. Every delay that once held you back has now become divine momentum pushing you forward. This is the moment when heaven opens doors that fear once kept shut. But the command to move comes with clarity. Do not drag old baggage into a new assignment. You cannot bring fear into faith. You cannot bring bitterness into breakthrough. The old season was meant to teach you, not to travel with you. There are people, habits, and mindsets that cannot walk into your promise. You are crossing over now, and heaven is saying, travel light. According to what is revealed in the book of Joshua, Joshua chapter 1, verse 9, have I not commanded you, be strong and courageous. Do not be afraid, do not be discouraged. For the Lord your God will be with you wherever you go. These words are not a suggestion, they are a command. Strength is not an emotion, it is a decision. Courage is not the absence of fear, it is the refusal to let fear lead. Heaven is not asking you to feel ready, it is asking you to obey. When God says move, He has already prepared the way. You may not see the bridge, but it will appear beneath your feet when you take the step. Many miss their breakthrough because they mistake movement for instability. But for the chosen, movement is obedience. You are not restless, you are being repositioned. Every closed door, every sudden shift, every divine redirection is God's way of steering you toward purpose. You prayed for an answer, and this is it. The season of waiting is over. Still, you hesitate. The unknown feels heavy. What if you fail? What if you misunderstood? But heaven responds, what if you fly? You will never know the full measure of God's faithfulness until you move when it makes no sense. Faith is not built in clarity. It's built in risk. When you move in obedience, you activate miracles that were waiting for your motion. The waters will not part while you're standing on the shore, they part when your foot touches them. Heaven has already gone before you, preparing divine appointments, supernatural provision, and unexpected favor. All that's missing is your yes, chosen one. This is not a test, this is a transition. The same God who sustained you in the wilderness is now leading you into the promise. But promise requires progress. The manna that once fed you will cease, because God is teaching you to harvest from the land of faith. It's time to stop surviving and start advancing. Everything in your life right now is aligning for motion. The dreams that once felt distant are stirring again. Opportunities are reappearing. Doors you thought were closed forever are beginning to creak open. Do not delay. The window will not stay open forever. When heaven says move, delayed obedience becomes disobedience. There is divine grace resting on your next step. You don't need to see the entire path, just the next instruction. Each step of obedience will reveal the next. God is not asking you to figure it all out. He is asking you to trust. And now, heaven calls you to respond. If this word pierces your spirit, if you know deep within that this is your moment to move, then type 888 inches the comments. Not as superstition, but as declaration. The number 8 represents new beginnings, and 888 declares heaven's completion of an old season and the birth of a new one. When you type it, you are saying, I choose movement over fear. I step into my new beginning. This small act is a prophetic response. It is your yes made visible. Heaven honors obedience in every form, even in faith-filled words written on a screen. By typing that number, you are sealing your agreement with God's timing. Chosen one. Don't hesitate anymore. The wind is shifting in your favor. The wilderness behind you has taught you resilience. And the promise ahead of you requires motion. Step out of fear and into faith. Step out of waiting and into walking. Step out of your comfort zone and into your calling. The command has been spoken. Heaven has said, move. And when you do, the earth will have no choice but to make room for you. There is a stirring across the earth. Chosen one, a quiet gathering that cannot be seen by natural eyes but can be felt by awakened spirits. Heaven is calling its remnant together. The scattered ones, the hidden warriors, the misunderstood dreamers, they are all beginning to rise. You can sense it even now. The invisible magnetism of destiny pulling you toward others who carry the same divine frequency. For years, you have walked alone, wondering why no one could truly understand you. You spoke a language few could hear. Your compassion was mistaken for weakness, your conviction for pride, your depth for distance. But that isolation was intentional. God hid you until the others were ready. Now, the time of hiding is ending, and the gathering has begun, as was spoken in the sacred texts of old. Romans chapter 8, verse 19. For the creation waits in eager expectation for the children of God to be revealed. This is that moment. The revealing is happening now. The sons and daughters of light are awakening from their slumber, across nations, across generations. Hearts that once burned in silence are beginning to beat in rhythm with heaven's pulse. It is no coincidence that you are feeling this shift. You are hearing the same call that others are hearing, a call not of man, but of spirit. The remnant does not gather in crowds or platforms. It gathers in alignment. It is drawn together by purpose, not popularity. When you meet another of the remnant, there will be instant recognition, not of the face, but of the flame. You will feel it in conversation, in shared silence, in mutual understanding without explanation. Your spirits will know before your minds do. These connections are divine appointments written long before time began. The people being drawn to you now are not distractions, they are destiny partners. Some will strengthen you, others will challenge you, but all will refine you. Heaven never builds movements on comfort. It builds them on covenant. The gathering of the remnant is not about forming an exclusive circle. It's about forming an unstoppable one. Each member carries a different expression of God's heart. Some will speak truth that pierces. Others will carry mercy that heals. Some will lead. Others will intercede. Together, they form a complete reflection of divine purpose. Alone, they are lights. Together, they become a constellation. You will recognize the remnant not by their appearance but by their endurance. They are the ones who kept believing when others bowed to fear. They are the ones who stood in integrity when compromise looked easier. They carry scars but no shame. They walk in humility but radiate authority. They do not seek fame, they seek fruit. The world will not understand this gathering. It is not organized by human hands or publicized by earthly systems. It is orchestrated in the Spirit. You will find these chosen ones in unexpected places, among the overlooked, the rejected, the quiet. They carry power not in volume but in purity. Their strength is not in numbers but in unity. And when the remnant rises, the atmosphere around them shifts. Their prayers push back darkness in cities they've never visited. Their words carry the vibration of heaven. Their presence unsettles the plans of the enemy without them even knowing it. This is why the gathering is so important, because the battles ahead cannot be fought alone. There is power in agreement. When chosen ones come together, their combined obedience becomes a weapon. One can chase 1,000, but two can chase 10,000. That is the mathematics of the Spirit. Unity multiplies impact. The kingdom of darkness has thrived on division for too long. But now, heaven is answering with connection. The remnant is rising in every corner of the world. Some are intercessors hidden in prayer rooms. Others are creators releasing light through art, music, and words. Some are parents raising prophetic children. Some are leaders rebuilding broken systems from the inside. You are part of this army. Chosen one, a soldier of light standing among the few who refuse to bow. And understand this, the remnant does not gather for comfort, but for commission. God is bringing you together not to escape the world, but to transform it. Every conversation, every collaboration, every divine encounter is meant to advance heaven's agenda. You will strengthen each other, protect each other, and remind one another of your calling when the world tries to silence you. You are not alone anymore. The same Spirit that awakened you is awakening others right now. Across continents, hearts are lighting like torches in the night, signaling to one another, we are here. The loneliness that once defined your journey is being replaced by divine companionship. The body of the chosen is aligning, bone to bone, breath to breath. So, stand ready. The gathering has already begun, and you are part of it. Heaven's army is assembling, not with swords and crowns, but with purity, love, and unshakable faith. You were never meant to fight alone. You were meant to stand among the called, united in purpose, unstoppable in truth. Every gathering is followed by a separation. Chosen one. When heaven begins to align its army, it also begins to sift it. The great separation is not about judgment, it is about clarity. God divides not to destroy, but to define. He removes what cannot go where you are going, even if it hurts to let it go. You may have already felt it, certain relationships fading, familiar voices growing quiet, doors closing without explanation. People who once stood beside you now seem distant. It's not personal, it's prophetic. The light that has grown within you has begun to reveal what is genuine and what is merely attached. As the Apostle reminds us in his second letter to the Corinthians, 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14, "Do not be yoked together with unbelievers. For what do righteousness and wickedness have in common, or what fellowship can light have with darkness?" This verse is not about condemnation, it's about protection. Heaven knows that your environment shapes your endurance. The company you keep determines the clarity of your calling. There are people who once fit the previous version of you, but cannot survive your transformation. They were necessary for your journey, but not for your destiny. The great separation is both painful and purifying. It tests your loyalty to purpose over comfort. God will never take something from you without replacing it with something greater. But the in-between, the moment of release, feels like loss. Yet, that loss is holy. It creates room for what is pure. Every chosen one must walk through this season of sifting. Abraham left his homeland. Ruth left her past. Jesus himself separated from the crowds to pray alone. The closer you walk with God, the narrower the path becomes. Not everyone can travel where you are headed. Some will misunderstand your silence. Others will accuse your distance of pride. But you cannot explain divine separation to those who haven't heard divine instruction. The truth is, separation reveals what was truly connected. Those meant to walk with you will recognize your growth and adjust. Those who were only attached to your comfort will fall away when you change direction. Heaven uses separation to refine your circle until what remains is strong enough to carry your future. Do not cling to what heaven is removing. When you try to keep what God is pruning, it turns into pain. Some doors are closing not because you failed, but because you finished. Some relationships are ending not from betrayal, but from completion. You've learned the lesson. Now the season must end. The great separation also happens internally. God is dividing your soul from your spirit, teaching you to discern His voice above your emotions. You will feel the pull between what you want and what He wills. You'll notice your old habits no longer satisfy. Your old patterns no longer fit. The Spirit is rearranging your inner world so that your outer world can align. This is the holy tension of transition. You are no longer who you were, but not yet who you will be. The in-between can feel lonely, but it's sacred ground. Here, heaven shapes you into one who walks not by sight, but by revelation. The more you release, the lighter you become. The lighter you become, the higher heaven can lift you. Separation is a sign that promotion is near. God does not prune dead branches, He prunes fruitful ones. The cutting is proof of growth. What feels like subtraction is actually multiplication in disguise. Each loss is an investment into a higher dimension of purpose. You cannot rise while holding what refuses to move. Let peace guide your release. You do not need to announce your departure from certain people or places. Simply follow the whisper that says, "It's time." Those meant to remain will recognize the shift and walk with you. Those meant to leave will drift away naturally. Do not chase. Do not beg. Do not cling. What is truly connected will never require force. Chosen one. The great separation is not rejection, it is realignment. God is positioning you for purity, for focus, for destiny. Every removal is a rescue. Every distance is divine direction. You are being prepared to stand where compromise cannot exist. So, stand still and trust the process. The separation may sting, but soon you'll look back and see that it was mercy all along. Heaven's hand is pruning your path so that when the next door opens, you will walk through it without the weight of what once was. The journey has not been easy. Chosen one, every crown has its cross, and yours has been heavy. You have bled in silence, served while broken, and believed through tears. Yet through every hardship, heaven has been watching, and now the paradox of glory and suffering stands revealed. This is the season where your endurance becomes testimony. The cross and the crown are never separated. They are two sides of the same calling. The crown represents your authority, your reward, your divine recognition, but the cross represents your process, your sacrifice, your obedience in the face of pain. You cannot carry one without the other. Those who desire the crown without the cross chase glory without transformation. But you, chosen one, you have endured the weight of both. Heaven has written your faith into its archives. Every tear has been recorded, every prayer collected in the bowls of remembrance. Your pain was never wasted. It became the currency that purchased your spiritual authority. What others saw as breaking was actually birthing. What felt like loss was positioning. As the Apostle Paul declared in his letter to the Romans, Romans chapter 8, verse 18, I consider our sufferings now not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed in us. That glory is already beginning to glow within you. It's subtle at first, a peace that doesn't make sense, a confidence that doesn't come from pride, a steadiness born from scars. You have been refined into gold. The furnace did not destroy you. It revealed your worth. The crown upon your life is not ornamental, it's functional. It gives you the authority to intercede for others, to stand in spiritual warfare, to speak hope into hopeless places. Your crown represents victory over what once enslaved you. Every battle you've survived has added another gem to it. You wear heaven's honor, not because you're perfect, but because you persevered. And still, the cross remains. It is not punishment, it is privilege. To bear the cross is to carry the heartbeat of Christ, the compassion that feels deeply, the obedience that costs everything. It's what keeps you humble when the crown shines too brightly. The cross grounds you in gratitude, while the crown lifts you in purpose. The two must remain together, balanced in sacred tension. You have learned to bless even while bleeding, to give even when empty, to love even when unloved. That is what makes you different. The world sees weakness in your tenderness, but heaven sees royalty in your restraint. The kingdom is built by those who can hold power without pride, who can suffer without bitterness, who can serve without applause. That is who you have become. The next phase of your calling will require both courage and consistency. You will be called to speak light into dark places, to guide those who are still wandering. Your story, your scars will become the very language heaven uses to heal others. When they see your strength, they will believe strength is possible. When they see your faith, they will remember hope. And as you step further into your assignment, know this: you are not meant to carry your message alone. Each time you share it, heaven multiplies its impact. Every word you release can be the spark that ignites faith in someone else. So, beloved, if this word has met you in a sacred place, If you can feel the truth of it resonating in your soul, pause for a moment, like this message, not as a gesture of habit, but as a declaration that you receive what heaven is saying. Let that simple action be your amen. Then, share it, not to promote a name, but to release a message. Someone scrolling through despair might find this very word and awaken. You could be the bridge between their darkness and their dawn. Never underestimate the power of obedience in small acts. And finally, subscribe, not for routine updates, but to stay aligned with this stream of truth. This space has become a sanctuary where the chosen gather, where faith is rekindled, where heaven speaks through words meant for warriors. Staying connected keeps the flame burning, not just for you, but for countless others who will rise beside you. Now, I invite you to add your voice to this divine conversation. Comment below, write what this message stirred in you. Maybe it's one sentence, maybe it's one word, but release it. Your comment might be the echo someone else needs to hear. When chosen ones testify, chains break in silence. Remember, chosen one, your crown does not make you greater than others, it makes you responsible for others. Your cross is not a curse, it is a calling. Carry both with grace. Live every day as one who knows the weight of glory and the beauty of suffering. Heaven is proud of you. You are the living proof that endurance is not in vain. The fire has shaped you. The cross has humbled you. And the crown now confirms you. Rise with reverence, for you are both wounded and worthy, both tested and trusted. There comes a moment in every divine journey when mercy pauses. Chosen one. It is not the end, it is the final warning before the shift. Heaven has been patient, but patience is never endless. The love of God is deep, but it is also just. When he begins to call louder, it means time is running short for hesitation. You can feel it in the air, the urgency that stirs your spirit, the trembling in your soul when you sense that something is about to change. Heaven's final warning is never wrapped in wrath, but in mercy. It's the last invitation before the door begins to close. You stand at a spiritual intersection, where one choice can alter everything, as was written by the prophet Joel. Joel chapter 3, verse 14. Multitudes. Multitudes in the valley of decision, the day of the Lord is near. You are standing in that valley now, the place between comfort and calling, between safety and surrender, between delay and destiny. Heaven's voice calls you not to scare you, but to awaken you. The decisions you make in this season will echo far beyond you. God has been whispering to you for months, maybe even years, through signs, through sleepless nights, through divine interruptions that stopped your plans. But when whispers are ignored, heaven begins to thunder. This is that thunder, the moment where grace confronts you face to face. It says, choose now, move now, return now. Heaven's final warning is not anger, it's alignment. God is not trying to punish you, he is trying to protect you from what disobedience will birth. Every time he asks for your obedience, it's because something ahead requires it. There are traps being set by the enemy that your simple yes could dismantle before they even form. The warning is love in disguise. You have felt the tug, the growing conviction, the unease in certain conversations, the restlessness in familiar places. That's not anxiety, it's spiritual friction. It's heaven saying, You cannot stay here anymore. There are versions of you that have expired. There are patterns that no longer serve your calling. You cannot fit destiny into disobedience. The warning is clear. Grace covers weakness, but it cannot bless rebellion. The mercy of God is vast, but not permission to remain unchanged. There is a difference between stumbling and standing still. You are not called to be perfect, but you are called to progress. Heaven's patience has purpose. It gives you time to choose rightly before consequence arrives. Look back at your journey. How many times did mercy rescue you from mistakes that could have destroyed you? How many times did grace extend when logic said it was over? Every one of those moments was God saying, "I'm not done with you yet." But now, the tone has shifted. It's not a whisper of comfort, it's a trumpet of command. The Spirit is saying, "Return to the path I set before you. The distractions you have entertained, the bitterness, the fear, the compromise must be left behind now. The hour is late, and the call is clear. What you refuse to surrender willingly will be stripped away mercifully, not as punishment, but as protection. Because heaven will not let you destroy what it designed through disobedience." You may feel the weight of conviction pressing on your heart as you read this. That is not condemnation, it is invitation. Condemnation says, "You've failed, and it's over." Conviction says, "You've wandered, but it's not too late to return." This is heaven's last call before grace shifts. For some, this warning means letting go of toxic relationships that keep you bound. For others, it means releasing fear and finally stepping into the work God told you to begin. For many, it's about repentance, not the shallow kind that apologizes with words but continues with the same habits, but the deep kind that changes direction entirely. Do not wait for another sign. The silence that follows a warning is not peace, it's distance. When mercy pauses, it doesn't vanish immediately. It simply steps back to let consequence speak. God does not abandon his own, but he allows the fruit of disobedience to teach what his words could not. And that lesson, though painful, is mercy too. But hear this even now. It's not too late. The door has not yet closed, it is only narrowing. There is still time to obey, to repent, to realign. Heaven's warning comes before every great move of God. Noah warned before the flood. Moses warned before the Exodus. The prophets warned before revival. And now, the Spirit warns before your next transformation. If you could see what obedience will unlock, you would not hesitate another second. There are promises hanging in the balance, blessings waiting for your surrender, souls tied to your yes. Heaven is not asking for perfection, it's asking for permission to move through you again. Chosen one, let these words echo within you. The time is now. The season of partial obedience is ending. The era of hesitation is over. Mercy has spoken again. Louder this time, but not out of anger, out of deep, relentless love. Heaven's final warning is not to scare you, but to save you. Every call to repent, every stirring to return, every conviction that makes your heart tremble, it's all evidence that God still wants you. If he were finished, he wouldn't be speaking. The fact that you're reading this is proof that the door is still open. Do not waste this moment. Heaven has paused everything to speak directly to you one more time. Take it seriously. Align your heart, your habits, your words, Make peace where you need to. Step away from what steals your fire. Step back into your assignment with reverence. The warning will soon become fulfillment. Whether of promise or of loss depends on your response. Choose quickly. Choose humbly. But above all, choose rightly. For the day of grace has not yet ended, but its shadow grows short. You can feel it now. Chosen one, the shift, the stillness after the storm. The tests have been endured. The warnings have been heeded. And heaven is moving again. You have walked through fire, but you have emerged unburned. What you once feared would destroy you has become the very foundation beneath your feet. This is the hour of coronation, the moment when the faithful are crowned. For so long, you have labored in obscurity, praying when no one saw, serving when no one thanked you, believing when no one believed with you. But heaven saw every unseen act of obedience, every small yes, every whispered prayer in the dark. Those moments have been added together, forming the weight of glory now descending upon you. The coronation of the faithful does not happen with earthly ceremony or applause. It happens in the unseen, when God places invisible authority upon a soul that has proven steadfast. It is not marked by a crown of gold, but by a mantle of light. You may not feel different, but heaven recognizes you differently now. You have crossed from testing into trust, from process into purpose. The Spirit spoke through the Apostle James. James chapter 1, verse 12. Blessed is the one who perseveres under trial, because, having stood the test, that person will receive the crown of life that the Lord has promised to those who love him. This crown is not a symbol of status, it is the seal of endurance. It represents your survival, your faith, your unwavering love for God, even when he seemed silent. You are not being rewarded for perfection, you are being honored for persistence. The crown of life rests upon those who refused to let go, who kept walking even when they couldn't see the way. Now heaven calls you faithful, and that title carries more power than any earthly one. Faithful means you can be trusted. Faithful means you have proven that obedience is not dependent on outcome. Faithful means you have learned to walk in rhythm with heaven itself. In this moment, the heavens are shifting in your favor. The authority that was once tested in private is now being recognized in public. Doors that refused to open will open easily now, not because you forced them, but because the timing has finally aligned. The same places that once rejected you will now call for you, not because they've changed, but because you have. The coronation of the faithful also carries responsibility. You are not crowned for comfort, you are crowned for commission. This anointing is not a reward, it's an entrustment. God has given you influence not to elevate yourself, but to elevate others. You are being positioned as a light for those still wandering in the dark valleys you once knew so well. Every scar has become part of your crown, every tear a diamond, every battle a symbol of authority. You are living proof that suffering cannot cancel calling. The enemy tried to silence you, but all he did was refine your voice. You are no longer speaking from theory, you are speaking from testimony, and testimony carries power. Heaven crowns those who have endured not so they can rest on thrones of ease, but so they can reign with compassion. The faithful rule differently. They rule with understanding. They lead with empathy. They speak with wisdom born from pain. You will find yourself comforting others with the same words that once comforted you, extending mercy where you once received it. This is not the end of your story, it's the beginning of your reign. The waiting season has ended, but the working season continues. The difference is that now you labor from victory, not for it. You speak from authority, not insecurity. You move not out of desperation, but out of divine direction. You know who you are and whose you are. The coronation also signifies restoration. What was stolen is being returned sevenfold. What was broken is being rebuilt. What you thought was lost forever is returning in a greater form. God never allows pain without purpose or warfare without reward. You have sown in tears, now you will reap in joy. Look back for a moment, not with regret, but with gratitude. The valleys, the silences, the battles, they were necessary. Without them, the crown would have been too heavy. But now, your shoulders are strong enough to bear the weight of what God has placed upon you. You have matured into authority. You no longer carry your calling as a burden but as an honor. Heaven is sending you forth now, not as a wanderer, but as a warrior king, a queen of light. You are being commissioned to go where darkness reigns and bring illumination. Your very presence will shift atmospheres. Your words will plant seeds of faith. Your life will become a living prophecy that obedience is worth it, that endurance is rewarded, that God is faithful. This is the coronation of the faithful, the moment when heaven stands to applaud those who never bowed to fear. You are crowned, not because you were the strongest, but because you refused to surrender when it mattered most. The heavens whisper your name with honor. Angels record your faith with joy. Your crown may be invisible to the world, but all of heaven can see it shining. And now, chosen one, the message comes to rest. You have walked through the voice, the fire, the silence, the testing, and the crowning. You've stood where few dare to stand, between heaven's command and human hesitation, and you chose obedience. That choice has changed everything. You are not who you were when this began. Heaven has carved endurance into your bones, light into your eyes, and courage into your heart. The divine command you once feared has become your daily rhythm. You have become a vessel of glory, proof that grace still transforms, that obedience still matters, that faith still wins. The story doesn't end here. It unfolds from this moment forward. You are being sent into the world as light, carrying every revelation, every truth, every whisper heaven has spoken through these words. There are still hearts waiting for your voice, still souls that need the fire you now carry. So, if this journey has spoken to you, if it has awakened something deep within your spirit, like this message, not for recognition, but as your final amen, let it be a signal to heaven that you received what was meant for you. Share it so that others who wander in the dark may find their way back to the light. You never know whose destiny may be restored because you chose to pass the flame forward. And before you step away, comment below. Write what this journey stirred in your soul, a sentence, a word, even an emoji. Your voice matters. It may echo exactly what another weary heart needs to hear. Finally, subscribe to remain connected to this flow of truth, to this growing family of chosen ones rising together in faith. The story continues, and heaven still speaks. Stay close, stay ready, stay chosen.